Okay, so tonight I'm thinking I'm going to do some more um, mechanical type work, and I want to see if I can um, maybe just hit this a little more efficiently. So I think something that maybe a catch-22 is that I I typically work um, pretty rough and and quick, and so I don't get too caught up in the details. But that may actually be kind of important when it comes to mechanical stuff, which may be why I don't do it that much. But no fear here. We're just going to follow whatever is interesting to us, and that's the whole point of um, this live stream. And so, as I was pulling up my reference, I thought, you know what? I want to do more of this mechanical type work. I should give the caveat. I'm not saying that I want to do more of this kind of work, as in I want to find these kind of contracts or whatever. I mean, I'm interested in doing this kind of a subject to maybe take it to the next level for me. Address some of those areas. All right. So the weather today was awesome. It's really nice. Got out and did grilling. A little late. It's always late when I grill because I'm slow with that. I'm not practiced enough. It always takes time. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's really nice. Grilled up some asparagus and carrots, potatoes, sweet potatoes, a little bit of chicken. So chicken I found, I was sharing this with some friends the other day. A little bit of honey, olive oil, and garam masala. And grill that up. Let that honey get kind of caramelized. Delicious. If that's what you're into. Okay. I'm just looking at this thing and it is a bit off of the reference. So that is going to come back to bite us if I don't address it now. I'm just getting this silhouette blocked in. And it's funny, I was talking about efficiency. This is not exactly what I would call efficiency. So, let's try to get some. I'm thinking kind of like broad light across the thing. So, if I pull up I think maybe that nasty square brush might be the one for this job. Nasty square standard. And I'm looking at my reference and I'm seeing kind of this light kind of come in from the top left and fade off. Now I'm going to actually look a little bit of variation down here because it seems to shift to a warmer tone. And little redder and darker in here. All right, then as we do, we will pin that to the layer below it. And then I'm going to look for some of these shadow shapes and mask them off. All right, so we'll go here, we'll loop there. Got all these little holes in there. And let's see, we'll go down here like this. And I think what's going to help out with mechanical type work is to take faster strokes and to also, you can get a straight line. I can show you this little trick here with the lasso tool. Even if you're doing the free hand tool, what you would do is you start at the point where you want to end, because that's how it works, and then you come over here, you do whatever you need to in terms of your the shadow shape, and then you lift up, and then you get a straight line to your origin point. So when you're doing mechanical stuff, or when you want to do something where you need a straight line, that is a little trick that you can employ. So again, I'll do it up here. I'll start there, I'll come down, build out my whatever shadow's going on there, and then I'll let go and it snaps up to it. And just visually, that can be kind of interesting to have some kind of straight, simplified edges, and then some kind of broken edges on the other side. I'm trying to remember who, trying to think of that guy's name. Brian something, I don't remember. Auto Destruct, I think, was his moniker back in the day when, having an internet name was the thing to do. But I seem to remember he was the one who talked about that concept of having a soft, simplified edge, and then a complicated edge on the opposite side of it. It's just kind of one of those tricks that you can employ to make the shape language interesting. All right, so it's kind of hard to tell what's going on at this point, and I think to make this more visually, to make more sense as to what I'm doing, I'm going to make the mask now. So I'm going to invert that. And so you can see what I'm doing is I'm cutting out these portions from my light layer here. I'm going to mask all those off so that what I end up with is all the shadow shapes. So let's see here. And I'll try to be a little more, if I'm just doing this for myself, my own work, I just, go ahead with this. I just use the mask tool the whole time. I kind of know where it's going, and I don't worry too much about, giving myself the visual feedback. I just kind of noodle away at it. But I'll try to remember to fill these in a little more often so that you can see where this is all going, rather than, one big kind of reveal at the end. Like, oh, that's what he's been doing for the last 15 minutes. Cutting out all these shapes and stuff. The other thing, too, is it probably is a good practice because you see, like, just right there, I took a stroke, but I missed a little bit. And so it would give me a chance to move that, like, can move that shape around before I commit to the applying it to the mask. And I am getting some serious lag here. So I think I need to move something. See if I can speed things up a little bit. May need to purge my Photoshop cache. And as I'm going here, if you have any questions, I can keep an eye on the chat. I'm not super prompt with that, but I've got it pulled up on a separate monitor over here, so you know, when I glance over, I can answer any questions. I was thinking when I pulled up this reference, you know, a friend of mine, Eric Pickering, sometimes will drop in the stream, and he might be able to tell me what this is. It's engine blocked something, and I see a box in the background that says Subaru. So there's a hint. See, and then when you're doing this like straight edge where you start somewhere and you pull off, I typically try to find the longest straight edge because that would be the hardest one to do manually. And so if you pick that one as the one where you want to end it, then I think you get the best results doing that. Otherwise, just take a quick stroke, and that can do the job. All right. Speaking of which, I'm going to open up Lazy Nezumi Pro. What this does, this is a little piece of software that smooths out the input from the tablet. So if you get anything jagged or you know, kind of broken up, it gets messed up, you can correct that. I mean, you can really push that tool to even just clean up your you know, your kind of wonky, you know, if you have like shaky hands or whatever, it can kind of average out your strokes. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for that. How I typically try to use it is I want something that's going to just clean up the kind of the digital mess if there's any lag, which on this machine happens pretty often to me. I'll get a little bit of a jump or jitter, a little delay, and so it's nice to have that software kind of clean that up. All right, that actually is going to go back. And so now that we've masked this out, we could actually trying to think, we might take this a step further. Suppose I could just copy the mask. What I'll do here, yeah, I'll copy the mask. And then I'm going to start working on some variation in the metals. So they're not all, not all the same. And I might change this to like different blend mode here so that it's not completely blowing away what we did before. We'll just go, yeah, lower the opacity on it. And then we'll just have to, if we want the colors to be more intense, we just need to go even heavier with it. Brighter and more intense. Let's see here. And these little divots here. Going on there. Make that even darker in there. And then, let's see. Got almost a purplish color in a couple of these spots here. All right, let's see. That there. Interesting little shape going on there. And then I think once we've got this blocked in, then we can jump to our a little bit of grunge and then our highlights, and call that study pretty much done. Let's see, I think I've got some splatter brushes here somewhere. Here we go. Grunge and splatter. And now do a let me do this as maybe multiply. Down in here. Okay. And then this, I think there's a little bit of an area here that I missed that I've got to correct. Now let's see, this one. I need to get in there and address that, because it is not quite working for me. Whoops. That's what we like to hear. Whoops. All right. And then I think that needs to get moved. And then on the inside, we need to go, let's see, is this our multiply? That's our multiply. This is kind of a conical shape to it, so it has to, can't just be super hard of an edge when we're painting that. And then I think the highlight layer, let's see, this is our grunge. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Multiply. I'll just go highlight. And we're just going to go straight across, you know, like this. All right. That's not that far off from my reference. Just looking at the tone or the hue there, I was thinking it might be off, but actually didn't look too bad. Okay, let's see. Go to this blue gray here. And start cleaning these babies up. And so part of this is going to be drawing what I see. And then part of it is going to be making decisions on kind of what to bring forward and push back, how to kind of adjust the light just a little bit to get a more interesting graphic read on it. What I mean, I know I say this in every video, what I mean by that is because I realize that when I say things, sometimes it just comes out of my mouth and I think it makes sense, and then I kind of take a step back and go, yeah, okay, maybe that didn't make any sense at all. Is that you can see something that is technically correct in terms of light and shadow. Like, you do have to push things to the point where they make sense in kind of the real physical world. And that light does hit things a certain way and bounces off and, you know, hits your eye. And so you do have to kind of look at angles and think about, you know, where that highlight is placed, the strength, intensity of it, and the shape of it, all that kind of thing. That's all visual information that tells you about the surrounding light in the scene. And so that's important. Where things kind of go sideways is that, well, it's not always visually interesting. you know, it might be interesting enough, and that's why you chose the subject to paint. But you could adjust it just a little bit to kind of make one highlight more important than the other, and that would draw your eye more to one region in the painting than in another region, and that would be that would be advised, because that helps inform the viewer, helps kind of lead their experience around how their eye kind of moves around the painting and interacts with it. And so right now I'm kind of, you know, throwing everything in there as one highlight, but if I come back and adjust this so that some highlights are a little brighter than others, maybe they shift in hue, and then I'm starting to make decisions that might not be in line with reality, and you can bend them a little bit. You don't want to bend them so far that they break, but you can bend them a little bit so that decide whether I want to do that. Bend them a little bit so that it makes it more visually interesting. So if I lock this layer and then I maybe take my light down a little bit, and I start to come back in and, you know, knock some of these down. Actually, might even go even farther than that. You know, so they're still highlights. They're still, you know, catching the light from the light source and reflecting that back to your eye. But now we're making decisions about where they're most important, where they're most visually interesting. Down here, even in my reference, it's really not quite that strong. So definitely took that too far. Maybe it's one of those Freudian things where I'm thinking about, you know, hey, you make decisions about how to change what you're seeing, and then that, like, I don't know, subliminally I'm like, I'm just gonna change this just to do it. All right, let's see. So then if I come back in with like a bright color, and I'm looking for these points where I can, you know, push some things, maybe move some things a little bit forward. And then maybe push things back again. Like this here, I thought it would be cool to have that be, you know, kind of popping forward, but now that I'm kind of seeing it, it's not as interesting. What's this? Is there a multiply layer? I might drop that back a little bit. Not quite as strong. And then this guy, I don't know what I think about that. I don't really care for what it does in terms of light. I do like, you know, when it's bumped up, I do like these greens in here. But don't know about this area in there. I think it could also stand to be messed up a little bit. If I take this, this is my eraser, and it's going to come in and wreak a little havoc here, just for the sake of it. just to keep it on its toes, you know. Wouldn't want your painting to get too comfortable. Okay. What is that? There we go. This guy. Yeah, what's going on here? So based on my reference, this is way off. You know, I wouldn't try to fit that up to a car. It wouldn't fit. But this is why I'm a painter and not an engineer. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, this is a bell crank assembly. Let's grab all that. Where's that together? So this one is just one part at an angle. And I was talking about earlier about getting these edges straight by just, you know, deciding where you want to start your snap. So if you want to snap to, whoops, if you want to snap to here, I'm looking at this edge here. I want to come around here, take my curve and then let go. Or if I could start here and then come down to where it ends and let go. See, then I got a straight line there with the freeform lasso tool, which just makes it easier. You don't have to switch between the polygon tool or the freeform. Okay, let's see. And there's like that. I think do that one again. Come around here. There we go. Okay, and then this is like a cool gray that is awfully close to my background color. And we'll call that bell crank base. And then I guess we can paint in the shadows. All right, so if I start there on that edge, curve this around, come up, curve again, let it go. Then you can manage those curves on those straight lines. Same thing here. Come down here, curve, let it go. And on the edge of my curve to the edge of this curve, let it go. And then you've got a nice shape there. And I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mask that in. So if I'll go in with a soft brush because that's what's going on here. We can brush this in. I've already got that masked off, so I've got the hard edge there. And this is actually really pretty straightforward soft light where kind of every edge there gets some kind of soft lighting. Let's see, and this curve here, so there's like a, this is a, there's like a ball in there, right? Or a joint. I guess it is a ball joint. Looking at it, it's got a little conical type thing going on in there. I haven't painted that part yet, but I shall show you soon enough. All right, so there's that. And then here, come around. Well, let's do that one again. Here. And then this has a curve there. I'll start here. And this edge up there and over. So this all gets feathered in there, give some dimension to that. And what I'm trying to do here is give a little bit more at the top edge, a little more shadow at the top edge, so that implies that there's some bounce light, you know, coming up there. Okay. A few more to go. So we got a little cutout here. And I'm fairly certain these are really all for just lightening the part. You know, the part doesn't need to be, you know, this dense, heavy shape. It just needs strength at certain points. And, you know, the way to do that is just to add like an L. So it's thick enough here to give it the strength, and then it's just got a little bit to tie it all together. That doesn't have to be a solid block in there. Now, let's see, I'll erase some of this out and come back at it with a soft brush. There. And then soft brush here. And it gets a little bit darker and less saturated right here on that edge, and right there too. That might be a little extreme, so I might have to cut that back, but that's where I think there's kind of less light bouncing around. It gets trapped in there. Bring that up just a little, just a hair. Okay. Now I'm going to do another layer beneath this. This will be light, and then we'll add in our brass. There's all the brass fittings and stuff. And so this is bright enough here. I might come a little bit brighter. And in this case, since this is all pretty pretty uniform metal, I can just come back and lower the opacity on this. I don't have to get too worried about having this be the perfect color tone. I'm trying to get a little bit of an edge on the inside of these and on the lip of the right there. There we go. A little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit that edge, and then here to that edge. Do I want to drop this? Let's see. Up, down, to the side. Yeah, right in there. It's good. I noticed as I was doing this that there was actually one portion here on the shadows that I missed. And so that would be right here. As this curves around there. Meets that edge. Okay. So now there are these shapes in here, and I really should just get the ellipse tool out. It's almost like that's why they made it, you know, so that you could just make an ellipse. But I always tell myself I want to try. It's like that territory of don't be a coward, but don't be a fool kind of thing. Like, hey, you can try to make this ellipse. It's not a big deal. But, man, if there's a tool to do it, just use the tool. We shall see. I may end up cleaning these up with the tool. But a trick, as far as doing it freehand, is to zoom in, use your elbow a little more. You'll get a little smoother arcs, and then you can actually use the cutout. You know, just hold Alt, do your negative, and cut out any junk that you've added in there. That one is too, that's a weird shape. You done messed up, Eric. Alright, let's see. Warp. Okay, so these are our brass portions. Man, what's he doing now? Starts out, he's trying to make his own ellipses, now he's trying to make his own squares. This guy's crazy. Okay. Man, I'm driving myself crazy with how long this part is taking. But I'm stubborn, so I had to do it. Okay, so this is my, these are my brass bits here, brass. And I'm going to pin that layer, and I'm just going to paint paint over top of it with, I like this W head flat. And just get some of these, some of that light catching in there. And whenever you're doing brass, don't forget green. Gotta get some green in there. There's always light bouncing around. You know, metal picks up colors around it, and they mix and they shift. And I find that brass, even though it's got that iconic kind of desaturated yellow thing going on, it's always got a little bit of this green thing going on. Usually in the shadows. Too much there. Man, I thought I was going to simplify and not get bogged down. I'll force myself to simplify. This part is off. Perfect reason not to get bogged down is that you kind of come around to it and you go, oh man, shape's wrong. I did all that rendering and not even right on the basic level. So I've said this before, if you're watching, I would recommend painting along. Pick a project, and get painting. I think it's fun to watch, can be entertaining to watch. If you're a painter, then, any inspiration that you're feeling, act on it now. Just get Photoshop or Sketchpad or something, and turn the interest painting into some actual some of your own expression, right? I find that for me, so much of this is kinesthetic. It's like I'll watch something and I'm interested in what's going on. Like, oh, that's cool. You maybe get inspired, feel like you're going to do something, and then actually doing it is another story. Okay, I'll bring that down. There are greens in there. You can shift towards blue, blue-green. And part of this, I think, is that it's the colors are a little bit separated on the color wheel, and so they start to vibrate against each other, which makes them interesting, more interesting. Okay. Now, my reference has this actually a little bit over. So this here is farther over, like that. There we go. And just like that, we've moved our shadow over. And we can also come in and clean that light up too. Now these parts have like a kind of a matte paint job on them. It looks like this one actually has like an edge there where these attach. I think I've got to line that up with this curve here. Can't get too tight with it. It's gonna be like that maybe. That's a little creative interpretation. So we'll cut it back just a little bit. And that brass might be a little too bright. We'll bring that down. And then on this whole thing, I think I want to do a gradient overlay. We'll set this to overlay. That's too, not exactly what I wanted. Oh, I see. It's funny, you get looking at the thing too long and you forget. There are parts you gotta do here. And then let's see, that's got a curve, and then that's got a curve. And this part a little smoother. Here's our shadows, right? So gotta add some shadows here. And along this edge. And this edge. Oh, got that layer locked. That was what's going on there. Okay. So we got a bell crank, an engine block. I'll move on to something else. Pulling up some reference here. I'm looking at gearbox. It's opened up. I'm wondering if I feel like doing that or not. I'm gonna pull up some other reference. Let's see. Horses falling. This is a reference board I put together a long time ago when I was working on Realm of Empires. We had horses all these different horse scenes. And excuse me, you have these battles with all these knights, clashing against each other, and it's an awful thing to look at. Just horses, face planting and stuff during these um, during these shows, exhibitions, or whatever. And but that's the reference that I pulled it for that. So it's. I would say this is generally. I might just paint these in directly. Because I think it's more about the gesture here. Let's go into these. Deep kind of purple reds here. All right, so we get like this going on here. Bigger brush. Let's see. Here. One of the tricky things with painting from reference, painting especially from anatomy, is you have to have enough knowledge of what's going on, but then also paint what you see and not what you know to be there. You kind of know how the anatomy kind of comes together, and you might have approached it a certain way before, or seen it from a certain angle, and then when you hit it again, you feel like, I know how that goes, and you draw what you think about it, how you've analyzed it before, rather than really, drawing what you see. Nice, a little lower there. Oops. Wrong tool. Let's see. Get too caught up in that, but differentiate where that shape is there. I think that's two legs together there in my reference. And the rider is way up high here. I might do the rider separate. Well, whatever. We'll throw them in there as one. The horse and the rider are one. Okay. This is either a massive horse or a very petite rider. I mean, I know I've depicted the torso here as maybe more significant, but I think that's actually just I think that's actually just the the motion, the cloth is kind of going back. Is that about right? Maybe a little. Rider might be a little too big. This is one of those things where you come back, look at it again with fresh eyes, maybe take some measurements or something and go, okay, yeah, way off with that, but we'll see. Horses are not something that I draw very often, but I do enjoy them. They're just such, they're beautiful creatures. Let's see, ear. Make the thing a unicorn. Probably should have fixed all those issues before getting the whatchamacallit, harness all painted in there. Let's see here, here. There we go. It's splashing in some water here. Let's get some water coming off the feet there. Let me do those again. Let's see. How do I want to address these? Yeah, I think that's what's going on. I think there's actually two legs there, and that's why that looks so weird. All right, so let's see. We might go and address that. One leg. And the other is like there, roughly. Don't want to get too detailed with it, but those are the two legs, it appears. Okay. Hmm. Get some of these loops and bits in here. What's going on here behind the eye? Loop thing going on there. There. And they got all this musculature and stuff. Crazy creatures. Don't want to get too caught up in the weeds here with all that. But I do want to capture a little bit of that tension in the muscle. might be a little excessive on the tail hair there. Too much going on. Try to simplify that shape. Can't erase too much. Well, you can't erase too much, and you end up with losing a lot of that original shape and stuff, everything that works together. Alright, so here's something as I'm looking at my reference. This actually much closer here. And I wonder if that's actually not this leg comes like this. And this is actually back here, the back leg. That wouldn't seem right though. If yeah, that would make this leg look longer. Trying to figure out what's going on here with this. Reference. In the reference, everything's kind of compressed down. You know, the shadows are compressed, which is fine. But trying to figure out really what's going on here with my this horse anatomy here. I don't think that's quite right, but there's something like that going on. Difficult to say. Okay. I suppose we can push all this with some overlay, that sort of thing. Bump the colors up. Overlay here. Is that what we want, or do we want to go this way? That color in there. Hmm. Just getting some base color in here. After we've already established most of what else is going on. Let's see here. Get this. Shape figured out here. Let's see. There we go. Turns out those hands actually were wearing black gloves, and I think that's probably why I approached the whole thing that way to begin with. Makes sense. Probably wouldn't want to do that barehanded. Such a, powerful creature that you're trying to rein in. Now this down here, this foot, woof, woof, is that what they call them? Yeah, wolves. Really bothering me. I think it might just make sense to simplify it visually. Instead of trying to show both of those legs, just chop it out. And maybe have that, in there. Then oops, sorry, bumped the mic. Then show this. And just that foot. What do we do? Did a splash off the other foot? How would that go? Nah. I think just that one. And then we'll back. We'll zoom out and see what that looks like. Yeah, I actually do kind of like having it here as well, just maybe more subtle. Speaking of subtle, let's do something that's not. Seems like that's what I'm doing here. Like that. Something to that effect. Something like that. And let's see if we can just feather in a little bit more, and I think I'll call this good for tonight. Need to find, here we go. Brush here. I might actually put this behind. Oops. Too much. There we go. what this needs actually is like the reflection of the horse in there somewhere. You know? I don't know. I'm not thinking straight right now. Let's go. A little bit heavy with the at the base of it. And we'll cut out some of these waves here. I don't know if I want to bother with getting that, you know, that bright character in there. Let me jump that back. Yeah, I think I might just leave it like that. All right, let me zoom in here. I think let me go full screen here. We get those 3 different references: the mechanical and the horse. And yeah, I think that'll do it for tonight. Thank you for joining, and have a good night.